Hello everybody, welcome to another Spirit Guide here for new players. Today we're going to talk about Thunderspeaker, which is one of my favorite spirits from the core set. I really like her and I think she's very powerful.
One of my least favorite, mostly because I don't like the little Dahan moving minigame.
Yeah.
But
So it's... You have to really like the Dahan for to really enjoy this one. There is a big part of her kit for that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with her, I just don't like the playstyle.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you're going to put 2 of your presents on the starting board, 1 in each of the 2 lands with the most Dahan. You have a keen interest in Dahan, and that's going to go through all this.
You love Dahan.
You just love them. We're on the moderate complexity ones, so not into the crazy difficult ones. I think there's only 2 high complexity in the core box. I think Nightmares and Ocean are the only 2 high complexity ones.
I forgot the Oceans from the core box.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, I forgot Rampant Green was from the core box. Him and Thunderspeaker are the other moderator
Rampant Green's basically easy.
Yeah, it is pretty simple.
But
what makes her complex, more complex than the other ones, is that while she has a pretty simple plan of offense, even though the control's really high, it's mostly because she moves Dahan around on the board. But her offense really depends on Dahan being there. So unlike Thunderbird, Lightning Swift Strike, where you just deal damage, you have to have a plan for how to make that damage happen with her. So that's where the extra complexity comes into place.
Yeah, and also it's very punishing to have bad things happen to you. If you lose 3 Dahan to an event or something like that, or because of an event that you flip, that can lose the game for you.
Yes, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, and then also because that extra Dahan management adds an extra layer onto the whole thing too. Because I believe, I'm pretty sure, because I've played her a bunch, is that when Dahan die, you die too, which can also be catastrophic. No utility, so there's not much blight removal, but there is some fear and some defense, but we're mostly on an offensive and control build with this spirit. Who's just a gal like us.
She's actually Lightning Bird's daughter.
Yeah, which is pretty sick.
Not a gal like
us.
No,
but she's just a gal like us. We can look at her, she's the second coming. We support her for that.
I got lizard hair.
Well, she does kind of have lizard hair.
That's
me. Special rules, ally of the Dahan. Your presence may move with Dahan. Whenever a Dahan moves from one of your lands to another land, you move 1 presence along with it. And then Sworn to Victory, for each Dahan destroyed by invaders ravaging a land, destroy 1 of your presence within range 1 after losing presence to Blight if relevant. So, the ally of the Dahan is a very nice ability for being mobile, especially because if Dahan are the way that you're dealing damage, you're going to want to be moving with the Dahan to make sure you can continue targeting lands with Dahan very easily.
It also lends itself to a very distinct playstyle from some of the other Dahan-oriented spirits like Hearth.
Yeah, the dog.
The Hearth spirit, whatever his name is, where you're much more static with that one.
Yes. Also, it works really well because if you're able to do defense, you can bring a bunch of Dahan and also do offensive, defending, which is really nice. But then her Sworn to Victory is a pretty big downside and can be catastrophic. So you just have to have that thing where it's always in your mind, especially because if you're also moving your presence with the Dahan, if they're getting destroyed, you might lose 2 presence from this, which can be even worse.
Yeah, if a common play pattern in our group at least is quite often when we have 2 Dahan and there's an explorer and a town. A lot of times we'll just be they'll kill the town and they put up Blight down, but that's life.
Yeah.
And that's really bad for you as Thunderspeaker. You can't do that a lot.
Yeah, because 1 Dahan without worrying about it ain't a problem, but you lose multiples and then it can cascade out of it. Onto her growth track. She has a pretty interesting one. So you only pick 1. We're going to see a different variation of that in the core set, which is exciting to talk about. But she's just a classic pick 1. She has reclaimed cards, power, so gain power card. She has add a presence at +2 range to a land with Dahan, and then add a presence with +1 range from a land with Dahan. And then the last option is add a presence, gain 4 energy. I normally ask Travis what this growth track makes you feel, but I feel like this one's pretty easy to answer for me, so I'm going to do it, which is just, you're going to want to put your presence where Dahan are. You're going to want to be where Dahan are. Yep. Additionally, there's a big burst of money. That gain 4 energy is pretty big. Another thing, too, is if I without looking at the presence track, you can kind of learn things to be so do we think she's going to make a lot of money, or is this like her big economy burst that comes
She's
with it?
probably going to cap out at 4 or 5 money.
Yeah.
And then the 4 money is to enable you to play like major powers if that's what you're going to do.
Yep. And then the double power card on Reclaim is very nice for breaking Reclaim loops.
This does also tell us that we're probably going to have lots of... our starter cards are probably going to cover most of the bases that we want to do in our first 2 turns. And then after that, we also probably have a reasonable number of card plays.
Yeah. While it's nice to get Reclaim, like you get power cards during Reclaims for that, it is always a little bit awkward to only get them on Reclaims. So if you have other players who can give you power cards, it's very nice to be like, hey, it should be me, let me take it, because then you can adapt a little bit quicker based on, without having to reclaim to get stuff back.
Yeah, it makes those first couple turns really sort of unchanging game to game.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's look at our track here. It capped out at 3 for the money, but this is our first instance where we're starting to see elements in the track, which...
And reclaim.
And reclaim, yeah. So some difference that is just normal than just energy and card plays. One thing the designers said, and looking back would have been cool to see, was that they overestimated how complex this would be, because they have this in the Horizons, the Spirit Island one, the beginner box. And it is very nice, and it's going to change how we're going to be talking about hitting the thresholds of your innate powers. It really opens up your innate powers to being, 1, easier to hit, 2, more of a thing that your character is doing, and less, your innate powers become less on the cards that you draft, because you kind of get a little boost from this.
Yeah, it feels less like you're luck reliant. Hello, Russell.
He's so needy.
Yeah, the person who sits here does normally give you lots of attention. You're right.
But the card plays, it's very easy to get to 2. You only need to do 1. And that Reclaim 1 is really nice because what that usually tells me when there's a Reclaim 1, it's usually like in your starting kit, not including like cards you gain, like in major and minors, but usually in your starting kit that usually says, hey, there's a big card that you're going to probably want to be looping. Like, you're going to want to be playing as much as you can later in the game, and she does have one of those in her
there's
kit.
one that's very integral to your strategy.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk about the innate powers here. Actually, before we do that, we usually also recommend where to start for putting stuff down.
I mean, I think you definitely want I don't remember what her innate powers are, but you definitely want the 2 card plays early.
Yeah.
And then you can probably hang out with 2 card plays for a little bit.
Yeah.
I would probably go like air 2 card plays on turn 1 to play 2 of my powers, and then the next turn I'm taking maybe 4 energy or putting 2 more presence down, depending on how much the powers cost.
They are very expensive, so I
probably
usually
4 energy, and then the presence to go up to 2 energy.
Yeah.
And then play my other 2 powers. Next turn is reclaim, get 2 powers, and then I'm looking at probably trying to get to that reclaim 1 after that.
Yeah, a big thing that I like to do is, depending on the board state and how my map looks and the cards that, like the first invader card we saw, I'll usually like do the 4 energy one first to just get that second card play, just so I have like a good starting to play what I want to play, and then do the 2. But it really depends on how the opening flop is as well. I think that there's not really a bad order to go, but you probably do switch between the 2 presence options depending on how things are looking.
Yeah, like I see myself probably sticking around the reclaim one for a little bit until I get to the 3 energy personally. I don't imagine that the 4th card, like having to invest 2 more presence into that 4th card's probably not worth giving up the elements and the additional energy.
And this is why the elements are so big, because it allows you to just like hit a comfortable level of card plays where it's not, your card plays aren't as reliant on you hitting your thresholds.
But yeah, like with the stuff on the top, because of how it plays into your innates, if you're innate, like the Gather the Warriors, you need 4 feathers or whatever to do them, make them both birds. And so normally we would need 4 card plays to do that, but we can get away sticking at 3 because we have the air on top.
Yep. And that's a really nice change from the strategies that kind of evolve once you've gone past the low-level complexity ones.
Yeah, I would be interested to see them release like the original course. That's just like a slightly different track.
Parallel versions of them?
No, just the same guys, just like with tracks the way they would have done them. Because I think
so. Like a second edition, with those changes, I think would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
All right, innate powers. We have Gather the Warriors. Speed is slow, range of 1, target any land. 4 feathers, this power may be fast. And then if you have one animal, one claw, gather up to 1 Dahan per feather you have and push up to 1 Dahan per sun you have. This is a very important power to activate. It's really nice if you can get it fast in the late game, but you don't need it in the early game, which is good because it costs 4, right? So you don't need to like worry about it till the time comes. So don't go out of your way trying to like rush to the 4. Use it to set up for your next turns when you get there.
Yeah, also in the early game, if you're in a spot where you're like, I need 4 Dahan this land right now.
You're in trouble.
Bad times.
But just the control that comes with it, where you're able to gather and push, there's a lot of play that you can have there.
Yeah, for every pairing, you effectively get to move 1 Dahan and one of your presents 2.
Yes, yeah, because your Dahan can move with it. And then as you unlock through the presence track too, it's very easy to just get those innate things just going as well.
Yeah.
You do need to find an animal. This is the one thing that's not on her track, so you do need to find an animal to make that happen.
I'm sure lots of her innate power, most, if not all of them.
And there's also like a lot of Dahan-focused ones also do have animals on them as well.
I do really like the Dahan being represented additionally by the animal element.
Yeah. Led the Furious Assault is her other one, and this is her damage dealing one. 4 feathers again makes it fast. You know, you're channeling your dad with that one. 2 sun, 1 fire, destroy 1 town for every 2 Dahan in target land. 4 sun and 3 fire, destroy 1 city for every 3 Dahan in target land. So that's destroy. Like that's a big thing. So we're going like beyond like you have 6 Dahan in the land, and that's 6 damage. They're basically, like dealing 1 damage each to the things that are going to be happening.
I think Thunderspeaker actually is very good for learning the flow of the game, like from a sort of metagame perspective, where you have, setups and payoffs for what you do in like on her card or her board, the innate powers, and then the Lead the Furious Assault also really illustrates where you are in the game, where when you're hitting the 2 suns and the 1 fire semi-consistently, then you're like stabilizing the game.
Yep.
And once you hit the 3 sun or the 4 sun 3 fire and you start destroying cities, that's where you're like in the cleanup phase of the game, and getting to the point where you're gonna win.
Yep. 100%. And unlike some of the other ones we were talking about in the previous ones, these are more likely to hit because you have those powers in your presence track, the symbols for them. What I also like this does is it teaches you like the meta progression of the game, but it also teaches you sequencing in a good way too, where because your Led the Furious Assault is a range 0, you're like, how can I get more Dahan here in my presence here to do this? Well, I can use my Gather the Warriors first, move my presence with the Dahan, and then have a bunch of Dahan in here to just like absolutely nuke this place.
Yep.
Which is a good thing to learn as well through game mechanics.
There's lots of things, there's lots of like neat little learning moments you can do with that as well, where you can pull your presence into a land with 1 city, push the rest of them, or with a town or whatever, push the excess Dahan into an adjacent land with the Gather the Warriors, and you have a defend card to defend that land, and then you've got your Lead the Furious Assault to clean up the town that's in the land where you left your presence, because you don't have to move it.
No, you don't have to. Yeah. All right, let's look at her starting cards here. We have Voice of Thunder, 0 slow, gives you yellow and purple. 1 range, any land, push up to 4 Dahan. If invaders are present, generate 2 fear.
Or if invaders are present, push 2 fear.
So this allows you to either move Dahan to set up your board for like the perfect explosion turns to have happen with your Led the Furious Assault or other cards. Mostly also manifestations of power and glory. And then if everything's looking hunky-dory, you can just generate 2 fear, which is not bad for 0 in a card play, especially if it's giving relevant symbols.
Yeah, that's a great throwaway.
Yeah. Words of Warning, 1 cost. It's a fast. Gives you sun, feather, and animal. One of the 2 of 4 cards that give you animal. Range of 1, target a land with Dahan, defend 3, during Ravage, Dahan and target land deal damage simultaneously with invaders.
You always love to see defense on the innate powers.
Yes, yeah. It just gives you like something that you're going to play this on turn 2, and on lower difficulties, and also on higher difficulties against certain adversaries, it'll just stop that Ravage.
Man, it feels so bad to have games where you're like, you dig like 16 cards and you just don't see defend iron powers, and you're like, I guess I'll lose.
Yes. One thing that's really nice about her and defend cards is there's a lot of defend cards that synergize with Dahan and like require Dahan, and she just says like, that's mine. And one even might have made it into the recommended cards here. Sudden Ambush, 2 cost, fast, gives you a fire, a feather, and a claw. Range of 1, target any land. You may gather 1 Dahan. Each Dahan destroys 1 explorer. What's really nice about this one in the first turn is you can use this to kill one of the initial Explore Dahan and then stop down in the future. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty simple though. I mean, you can see how these are all relevant for the icons as well. The two that have claws are good, but you're going to want to find more claws because you really want to be hitting that like every turn if possible.
Yeah, and paying 2 for the sudden ambush every turn, or even alternating between the words of warning and the sudden ambush every turn is like, that's going to get pretty expensive when you can generate 3 money at most, because that's all of it.
Yep. That's
tough.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
That's all I get.
And then we have Manifestation of Power and Glory. This is her ultimate. This is, depending on the scale of the game, probably one of the most major power-feeling starting powers that a spirit has, like if things are going really good. And this is one of the cards that you're looking at doing the Reclaim 1 for that I talked about earlier. It's 3 cost slow, gives you Sun, Fire, and Feather. Range of 0, target land with Dahan. Generate 1 fear, and each Dahan deals damage equal to the number of your presence in target land. This is very easy to hit for, like, commonly you're going to hit for 9 to 12 damage with this card, which is kind of insane. You've heard us talk about this in the past, something called Fuck Mountain. She's a very good, like, destroyer of Fuck Mountain when the time comes. She can just move all her and her Dahan in and destroy it. Her weakness with this, though, is that because she's moving around on the island a lot, especially if you're looking at doing the manifestation, you're going to, like, solve a problem, start moving to a new problem, but then, like, where you moved from, problems are going to start creeping up.
Yeah, they always seem to. Yeah.
And because, yeah, she's kind of like just, like, destroy this land. You have to, like, either lean on your teammates, and that's where, like, pushing can come in really good. She plays really good with, like, River for that reason, right? But just something to be aware of with her.
Yeah, she actually plays very similarly to the Embride Beast in that respect.
Yep.
You have one land that you're like, I'm going to annihilate everything in this, and then you like, I have to go do something on the other side of the world, and then they pop back up there, and you're like,
My Iona.
Yeah. I am also, I'd be really interested to hear why they decided that Manifestation of Power and Glory needed, like, why there was room in the power budget for 1 fear.
I know, right?
Is that just so it can't do nothing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Someone left a comment. I think it's like in retrospect, it was like, we put that probably because so it does something.
Yeah.
But someone left a comment on one of our guides, The Shadows Flicker Like Flame, where the designer said if they did a 2.0, they would buff Shadows and nerf Thunderspeaker. Yeah. And I think this is just an example of like that one thing that just seems like, nothing, but then you're just like, that's a little bit of a nice little
there's nothing about Thunderspeaker that's like really over the top.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things you're like, this is like pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like the hyper efficiency from her starting cards is not like crazy, but when it's like popping off, you're like, this seems crazy for a starting card.
Yeah, like Words of Warning, that could probably been like defend too.
Yep.
Voice of Thunder probably could have like not given fear or whatever.
Yeah, could have just said push up to 4. Yeah.
Oh, it says push up to 4, so you can still play it for the symbols even if there's no Dahan there, right?
Yeah, you can just play it.
So
yeah, it's those small things that really can really change things. All right, let's talk about some cards that are recommended for her, just something to look out for. We have Call to Bloodshed. I'm trying to do as few like recommended ones as possible. Try to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, but they really nailed it on some.
They really did. And it's so hard. I'm like, this card's perfect, and then I look at the borders, and I'm like, no. All right, so Call to Bloodshed is really good. So it's a slow cost 1, but gives you Sun, Fire, and Claw. Another card that has Claw, which is very important. Range of 1, target land with Dahan. 1 damage per Dahan or gather up to 3 Dahan. This is just like a baby version of your innate power and then also the Gift of Manifestation card. Yep. Like, it's just a smaller version of that. You'll actually see that's pretty common for a majority of these things that we have here, which is like the dealing damage per Dahan, because that's just what you do, so why not do more of it, right?
Yeah, that is basically what you do.
Yeah. Fire in the Sky, 1 cost fast, gives you a Sun, a Fire, and a Feather. From a Sacred Site, which there's nothing really here that says like you're going to be focusing on sacred sites. Like if we go back to all these, there's none of these that are like sacred sites. But because you're moving with Dahan so easily, you're going to like stack up multiples, and then also your manifestation cares about you having a lot of presence there, so it's pretty easy to get. I chose this one because of the symbols. but also the ability 2 fear and 1 strife can be really good because that 1 strife can essentially be a defend 3.
Yep.
You can stop a city from attacking and then like destroy that city or use other small defense to stop the other things as well, which is really nice for keeping your Dahan safe. Vigor of Breaking Dawn is our first major. 3 cost fast, gives you a sun and a claw. It's a range of 2, target a land with Dahan. 2 damage per Dahan in target land. Have we caught on to the really here the same thing? You're wanting me dealing damage per Dahan. If you
I bet I have lots Dahan in the land to use that.
If only that was possible, right?
Yeah.
And if you have 3 sun and 2 claw, you may push up to 2 Dahan, and lands you push Dahan to 2 damage per Dahan. This is like, if I find this as her, I snap take it. This is like the number 1 card I'm looking for in the major power deck for her. And odds are, unless things go really bad, like I feel like my confidence level like triples when I see that card with this. Because it's just like nutty. Last one here is Voice of Command. 3 cost, gives you a sun and a feather. It's fast, range of 1 from a sacred site, target land with Dahan. 1 damage per Dahan and explorers to towns and cities only. Defend 2 during ravage actions. Explorers fight alongside Dahan. And then if you have 3 sun and 2 feather, you first gather up to 2 Dahan cities or explorers.
It's cool.
That's all really cool, all that other text, but it's mostly still that 1 damage per Dahan. Like it's like, I mean, like the explorers not ravaging can be really huge, and them fighting with you, especially with the defense, can be really nice. But it's mostly just that 1 damage per Dahan, so you can deal like 6 to 8 damage with this card pretty easily.
Yeah, being able to clean up the towns and cities is really, even with like just a single Dahan, if you've got like a nice little fuck mountain build, you can like go get them guys.
Yes.
Get them explorers.
And it is true, because if they if you destroy the towns and cities, but there's a bunch of explorers, but they don't like fight, you're basically also defending all those explorers. And then in the late game, when you care about destroying cities, this card could just be like winning the game as well.
Yeah. No, if there's one major power I would have, or I'd like to mention is, because you said that you would snap take Vigor of the Breaking Dawn. I think the only major power I can think of that I would probably take over it is that bargain one that makes the Dahan defend 1.
Yes, yeah.
I think that one's like, you almost always take it, even if you're not playing Thunderspeaker. And with Thunderspeaker, that probably just wins you the game.
Yeah, probably. The one that... yeah, I tried to not put those ones here for the newer ones in the
that one's
new player
definitely
one.
Yeah, that one's like from the newest expansion.
Yes, it is.
I think,
Yeah.
So,
but it would be because as well, you get less money, but because you have that +4, it can be like very easy for you to make that money.
You are already planning to not really have any.
Yes, and then having like all those Dahan just there to keep you safe is really nice.
Yeah, like if you're Dahan, just
it's like you have a fortress, like a fucking like mobile fortress. You're just moving through the island.
Well, it's actually like plus money, right? Because if those Dahan are all defend, you don't have to pay for your defend cards anymore.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You're just
drop
making
them.
money.
Yeah. And it's one thing that's too as well, especially that's perfect to go back to this. With the gain power cards, I think she's really nice at grabbing minors as well, because you have that 3 cost. It's kind of telling you like your majors you're going to want to fish them out, but we're not going for like the big majors, right? And then also because of how she's built, she can get by on just her manifestations. So like getting minors to like round out your kit can be really nice. And then you can use those minors whenever you gain like to like the ones that you don't like to like try to fish out the good majors.
Yeah, I think most of the time you're probably taking 2 minors on your first reclaim, and then after that, like you probably have like a comfortable game loop set up, and you just fish for the good major powers. And a lot of the time, I think you're probably just not taking any.
Yeah. And it's really nice too, because you can go like if you like both of your minor powers that you got on the first go, and you don't want to lose anything because you're like your kit, you can like gain a minor, grab one that you like of those 4, but then you can start gaining majors, and you can like have like a little like this is my throwaway to get a good major, or like double fish to like do that while still increasing your hand size.
You can also get rid of manifestations, I think, without feeling too guilty, depending on what power you get. Like the 2 major powers you showed are basically that.
If you do get a stronger version of that, because it's 100%, then you can get rid of that one, because then you're reclaiming Vigor of the Breaking Dawn, because it's fast. It's fast compared to the slow on this.
The same.
Yeah.
So
like it doesn't give you the feather or the fire, but you really don't care that much, because like realistically, even though we talked about hitting the thresholds, all the thresholds for her are easier, the town one is still very good, like hitting that second one, and it honestly is like free.
Yeah, like the animal you're gonna get.
Yep.
you're gonna one of your cards, if you're picking up the Dahan cards, is gonna have an animal on it that you're playing every turn, and then realistically, you're gonna have 2 to 3 feathers and suns between the other cards you're playing, and you're gonna get to like moving the Dahan around is probably not gonna be an issue.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. That's Thunderspeaker. Sweet, I love her, but I understand the mini game is not for everybody with all that like Dahan management. It's just an extra thing.
It's not my power fantasy.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'd recommend her for like a newer player. I still think starting with the beginner ones is still the way to go.
But she's a really good option once you have a handle on the game, though. For like a veteran board game player's second game maybe, or like a third or fourth for other people.
Yeah, just want to get just go for the level up for all that. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, next week we got Travis's custom spirit, so that's going to be a really fun one to talk about that. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one, and as always, GG's.